Since we last talked to you at the very beginning of camp, how have you seen your group progressing? Anybody, really kind of taking a big step up for you that you've seen so far?
Well, I think overall as a group, we're making progress. We're getting to where we want to be. Obviously there's still a lot of things we got to get better at, overall as a group and individually. But I think as a whole, we're where we need to be right now, given that we just finished our first scrimmage and stuff, and there's some very positive things that come out of it, and also, some things that we got to get better at, as the season approaches here.
How much is that experience, especially with those guys, in that kind of top group, how much has that kind of shown through here early in camp, and how much does that help you kind of hit the ground running in that first week that you've had?
Yeah, we've got a fair amount of guys that have played a lot of football for us, guys that have on defense obviously, but also on special teams. So that game experience, obviously it goes a long ways. And with 4 guys that have played a ton of football, we're trying to push the envelope and, as well as help bring along some of the younger guys and even create some more depth, within our position. And I think they're all doing a good job right now, handling that.
What does this group do the best, particularly well, and what's maybe the biggest thing you're harping on them about that you want to get this group better at?
We've been working a ton on our communication, and just making sure we're all on the same page, especially with the secondary. And it's verbal and nonverbal, and that's an obstacle when you play at home or in stadiums that are allowed to be able to communicate, non-verbally and stuff like that. So I think they've been doing a pretty good job. Like I said, these guys, the older ones, have played a lot of football, so they've done it before, and the young guys are coming along.
One of the young guys, Drew, what have you seen from him so far?
Drew's a guy that he loves to be on the field. He wants to compete. He wants to jump in there and compete. It doesn't matter who he's going against, and that's always encouraging to see, from the standpoint that he's a guy that loves to play the game.
Marquise Hendricks is another guy we've been hearing a lot about. What's he done? I know you guys got in on him kind of late, and then now he's here, and now he's apparently been standing out so far early on.
Yeah, he did a nice job last night. He really did. These young guys, they jump in here and they're trying to figure out this defense, and it's like a whole new language, and it's not the easiest thing to do. And you see a guy like Marquise go out there last night and fly around, and at the end of the day, like we told him before the scrimmage, that you still got a football helmet on, you still got shoulder pads, the ball hasn't changed. Go out there and have fun, and let's see what you got. Show us what you can do. And Marquise went around. He went out there last night and flew around, made some good plays, and was having fun out there. So that was good to see, as well as some of the, a lot of those freshmen. We told them, hey, we get it, we understand. You're still trying to figure out this defense, but don't let that hinder you from going out there and having fun.
With the depth you have there at linebacker, is there any opportunity for any of those young guys, whether it be special teams or whatever, or are you still looking to probably redshirt most of those guys?
Time will tell, but right now we feel pretty good about the depth we have, with the guys returning and stuff. And Coach Harsin will tell you, in his, the tradition is shown, most of the guys end up redshirting and stuff. There's got to be a serious need, and more importantly, the guy, both physically and mentally, has to be ready to handle that challenge, as well as, first year in college. So if you can, you always want to redshirt those guys because they're always better as fifth-year seniors,
With only 2 linebacker spots this year, and as productive as Ben and Tanner have been for you, what's your message been to Joe and Tyler about kind of where they fit in and what kind of opportunity they'll have?
You know what, those guys, they know, like we've talked about before, just because somebody steps on the field to start the game doesn't mean that that's, how it's going to be for the whole game. You got to be ready to go first and foremost, no matter what, like you're the starter. And I think that's the way all 4 of those guys prepare. And honestly, I think that's the way they all see themselves, which you see them preparing and helping each other. Tyler and Ben Weaver work together to make each other better. You know what I'm saying? Joey and Tanner, they work together to make each other better. And they know that we're stronger, in packs, all 4 together.
Even though you guys are going with more of the DB at nickel, are there going to be opportunities to slide Tanner out there and go with 3 linebackers and get 3 of those guys out there together?
As we start moving along here in camp, I'm sure we'll get into some different packages, not only with the linebackers, but you know, with just getting our right personnel on the field for certain situations, and you know, the guys that are working really hard, obviously, and doing good things, we want to find those roles for them, you know, in certain sub packages, whether it be you know, heavier packages or more speed packages.
Or are they all kind of split into their own deals now?
Either the older guys could, if we needed the older guys to do it, they could do it.
Yeah.
I mean, those guys they've played enough to know each position. When they fill out their test that we give them, they fill out both positions and know both positions, which is obviously a benefit, just experience.
I know you've talked about in the past you want the linebackers to be the leaders. I know Caldwell was like, we should be the leaders of this defense this year, all the experience we have. I'm sure Darian Thompson and Dante Dion think they're the leaders.
If everybody's pulling that rope,
Yeah.
we'll probably have a pretty good shot, you know what I'm saying? And we talk about all the time, I mean, within the group, you know, we got to make sure that each one of these groups is mentally and physically ready to roll. And, you know, like I said, if we're all pulling that rope like we're leaders and we're all going, you know, hopefully we'll have a pretty good shot.
How are you guys doing with you know, that kind of role? Because they're still fairly young guys, even with the experience they have.
Right, no question. I mean, that's a great point. You look at a guy like Tanner Vallejo, who, you know, is a true junior, you know, and is still really, you know, hasn't been in this program a terribly long time. Yeah, 2 years. I mean, but the one thing that happens, and I think it's natural in football, is the guys that are able to do it on the field get respect from their peers, get respect from their coaches, and you know, those guys generally people gravitate towards. And so our message is just do your job, do your job, do your job, and do it really well. Okay, show up, be a great teammate every single day, and the rest will take care of itself. You know, and if we could all do that, then, like I said, hopefully at the end we end up in a pretty good position.
We just talked to Deuce. He said you were one of the guys that recruited him. What,
Yeah.
you know, how did you come up with him? And you know, what would you guys see back then that convinced you he could, you know, was going to be a good player down the road?
We were quite surprised because it wasn't like he was an overly recruited player. I mean, he was recruited by Pac-12 schools. He had some Pac-12 scholarships and stuff like that, and some serious.
Any film of that?
No, he talks about he talks about it. I haven't seen any film, but he also talks about playing fullback and carrying the football. Hey, there's no doubt that he can't do that either. I mean, I wouldn't want to have to tackle Deuce, you know, running down the field in open space.
Not sure we're going to get you before the first game. I'm just wondering for you personally, what's this going to be like with your relationship with Coach Pete and a lot of the coaches on that staff going against them, and what's your relationship been like, I guess, for the several months knowing this game was coming up?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a unique situation. Obviously, just having worked with a lot of those guys, and you know, they've been my coaches. They've been my mentors. It's obviously a unique situation. However, you know, at the end of the day, it's a football game, and when that ball gets rolled out there on the field, you know, it's time to go to work. And I know that they want to win, you know, as much as anything as well. And so, you know, the focus hasn't really been on that so much. I mean, we got to get ourselves ready for a season. You know, obviously that's the first game, but we've been more focused on ourselves and through our relationships. I think we've done a pretty good job of maintaining those, but there's not much football talk going on.
Is there anybody over there you're particularly close with?
Well, I mean, I've spent, you know, a lot of those guys. I mean, Keith Bonifa is a really good friend of mine. You know, Pete Kwiatkowski is a really good friend, and you know, as well as a lot of those guys. I mean, I'm a younger coach. Some of those guys have been really good mentors to me.
Do you see him much this offseason? Or you talk to him much, or you
Oh,
try
yeah,
to
we see
avoid
him.
that? Or
No, we see him out recruiting. We see him at camps. We see him all over the place.
a little trash talking going back and forth?
No, it's almost like it's not even going to happen. We don't talk about it. And it's just like that day we'll show up and we'll play the game and, you know, go from there.